Video, what we're going to be doing is replacing the bottom panel, and I'll show that in a second, that goes up underneath the gas tank. So right now what I've done is I've taken all the screws off the top here. So this piece right here actually lifts up. It's got a piano hinge up at the top, and we're fixing to take the piano hinge out. Let me show exactly what we've got going on here that's causing all this extra work. So right now, if you look up under the belly, this is the panel. You'll see the fuel drain is over here. This is the panel that is sitting up underneath the gas tank. And you'll notice over here that we've got a pretty substantial crack in the metal here. And you'll also notice that when I push up on it, that all of the places that right here that have rivets in them, they should have a stringer that runs across here that all these rivets attach to, but those stringers have broken loose. So you can see the rivets here, and it actually moves here. So that stringer that runs across that should be holding the bottom of this piece of metal in, they've all broken. So right now the only thing holding this is the very ends of the metal, and it's a pretty substantial piece of metal. So what I'm going to be doing, I've got to fly to Maine in a couple weeks, and I need to get this fixed before I go because I don't want to have this get any worse. So in order to get this out though, there is a gas tank literally sitting right on the other side of this. So we've got to pull the gas tank out so that we can get to this. I'm going to drill out all these rivets and drop this panel off, make a new panel, and then we're going to put that back in and then put the gas tank back in. And when we're in the process of doing this, we're also going to go ahead and replace the fuel line, whatever connects this fuel tank to the engine, so that just to make sure that all those hoses are good and in good shape. So it's quite a bit of work that we're going to be doing here. I'm trying to see if I can get all of this done this in the next couple days. So right now, today, we just got back from Triple Tree, and instead of going home, Jacob and I are hanging out here at the airport so that we can try to get this panel off. Oh, and there's one more trick. So there is a piece of there's a piano hinge that goes up at the top of this piece that holds this in. It actually swivels up and down and lets you get in there. But in order to get the piano hinge out, you'll notice it runs into the cockpit and it runs into the cowling over here. Well, if you go into the wheel well, there's actually a hole that thing slides in through from the wheel well. So you go up underneath the wheel into the wheel well, and then look up at the corner of that main bulkhead that's sitting right in that area, and just on this side of it you'll see where the wire comes in and sits. And so I'm going to be crawling up in there and pulling that wire through so that we can take this door completely off, because we've got to get into it to be able to get to the gas tank. Okay, so this is the piece of wire that came out. So it basically slides in from in there and goes through to hold the door on. It's really almost impossible to just get in there and pull that thing out. So I had Jacob up here shaking this thing up and down so that it allows this thing to pull through, because it's got oil or grease and stuff on it, but it still is it's a pretty tight fit. So you'll probably have to have a little bit of help to get this to pull out, unless you're just super strong. But that is all that there is to that. I'm gonna lay this down here so that I can show you what happens here. But now when we pull on this whole piece now comes off. So now what we're going to do is pull that off, and then I'll show you what we got to do next. So we have that off. Let me step up here. And so now what's going to happen is up under here there are some straps that there's a strap that runs across here and across here, and then you've got the connectors that hold those straps together and tighten up. So what we're going to be doing now is taking these connectors loose so that we can get these straps off, and then we'll have to disconnect the drain, or the overflow drain for the gas, and then the wiring for the sending unit. Get rid of this grounding strap that's sitting here, and then hopefully find, because one of the things that I don't know and I haven't been able to figure out in the service manual is I don't know exactly where the fuel line runs out of this tank and into the engine. So I'm hoping that I can pick this up a little bit and see it, because there's no way to get to it from the bottom of the airplane. And I'm definitely not going to be drilling that bottom plate out with a gas tank sitting in here. So the only word of caution that I would say here is just make sure you're not using your electric drill or anything like that to do any of this work, because you wouldn't want to have the drill motors make a spark and the fumes light you up. So just be careful when you're down here to the gas tank. So all of the work that I do from here is going to be with manual tools, and again, I'll videotape once I figure out exactly how to get this out, because right now the only thing I know for sure is that these two straps have got to come loose. So we have to, the safety wire goes around the pin in between here, and then goes through to keep this turnbuckle from turning. So we got to cut the safety wire off, loosen this up, and then that pin will just drop out, and then you'll end up with a disconnected strap, which is what we have over here. So that's all we're doing. All right, and I'm assuming these are on the bottom too, but there's two pieces that like a rubber piece, and they're just kind of wedged in there. They go around the edges of the tank at the top and the bottom. There's a rubber piece underneath and like an aluminum piece on the top to keep the edges from getting chafed, and I'm assuming that there's probably going to be the same setup underneath the tank. So my next thing is to disconnect the grounding strap there. There's another grounding strap right there. And then it looks like right here is the fuel line, or one of the pickups. I don't know what this is, but there's definitely one line going out of here. And then I'm just gonna have to figure out where the other stuff goes. But right now, we're gonna see what we can do after this. But we got everything disconnected. I got to take that strap loose, or the line loose up there, take the electrical part of this off, and then those two grounding straps, and then we'll just start slowly wiggling it out of here and see what all we're gonna have to do to get it to let loose. So that's where we're at so far. All right, so I found the connector for the fuel, and it's on the inboard side. This is the left wing, so it's on the inboard side of the gas tank. And if you look, it's that hose right there with the rubber hose with the hose clamps on it. So what I think I'm gonna have to do is I think I'm going to have to, because it's not very easy to get to from in here in the battery compartment, but looking at it, I can see the spar strap. You can see the bolts like right down in between those hoses there. There's a hole there, and I think I'm gonna have to pull this fairing off of here. And they're a teetotal bitch to get out, but I'm gonna take that fairing off, and then I'm hoping I can get access to it from up on the bottom to get that disconnected. So after getting the panel off, we got it down here on the floor. There is an inspection hole cut in here where this drain line is, and if you look up in there, there is our culprit right there in the back. So we got to take those two clamps loose and then pull that off of the gas tank here. I don't know if that nipple is going to be able to stay on there when I pull this out, or if I'm going to have to somehow get it unscrewed, but we'll see when I get to it. But we're making progress. All right, we got this loose. The one on the bottom's loose, but we haven't gotten the hose off yet. I am going to have to take this off and disconnect the wires for the sending unit. And then I got to take the two grounding straps loose. So that's what we're gonna do now. And then we're gonna see if we can pry this tank out of here. I have no idea how the tank is gonna come out. So the situation that I have now is I've got everything up here all disconnected, the wires, all of the straps are pulled out. I got all the little brace pieces, the cover pieces out. The grounding straps, the connector that's up there in the front is out. So I've got everything loose. The problem is the main fuel line that's on the bottom of that front corner. I can't get the rubber off of it, and it's so tight in there that I've got, at the moment, I got no idea how they actually got it in there. So that's going to be one thing. And then the other problem is the front of the tank is moving like it wants to come out. The back part is like locked in here, and I don't know what's locking it. So I'm trying to figure that out. Well, that is the gas tank. So there's nothing really too wrong with it. I need to put some felt on the sides where it looks like it's rubbed in a couple places, but overall it's pretty good. I made these little pieces here. I got some threaded rod and heated it up and flattened it out, and bent it at 90 degrees so that we could stick it down the side and turn the thing and lift it, and then made a little handle to pick up on it. So it ended up being huge. It was easy getting out once we got everything disconnected, but this is the inside of the piece, and I'll show where the thing is broken here in a second. But we ended up having to take the nipple, the little fitting that goes in the front of the tank over here, this guy right here, we had to take it all the way off, and I ended up having to cut the fuel line that was in there because it would not come off. We couldn't get it loose. So I'm suspecting that putting all this back together is going to be a bigger pain in the butt, but we'll see how that goes. But it's got a 45-degree piece that goes in here, and I'm just going to get a new one of those too, and put all this stuff back together. I'll get this thing all cleaned up and ready to go back in the airplane. But before we do that, we've got to get up here and fix the bottom of the wing. So, but you can see right here is where it's cracked all down through here. So this whole piece is broken loose, and then the one up there has got pieces out of it too. So I've got to get my EMP in here, find out exactly what he wants to do to fix this, and then try to get it repaired so that it quits flapping and doing what it's doing. So, but that is where we're at the moment. So I'm just waiting on him this afternoon. I'm gonna sand down this main support piece here and get it re-primed and protected as much as I can. So, and I'm probably gonna go ahead and replace both of the hoses that go from these lines. So this line that you see here is actually from the aux tank. So I'll go ahead and put a new rubber piece on it and replace the one that we cut. All right, so we have gotten the inside of the compartment here cleaned out. So what we're going to be doing is there is a patch right there behind this door. I'll show you on the bottom in a second. We're going to be taking that patch off, and then over here that whole piece is cracked out right here on both sides of this brace. So we're going to be cutting a hole in that, but before I do all that, I got to get all these rivets out. There's a bunch of Cherry Max rivets in here, and I've got to get them out. I've got to take some of the rivets out of that main piece over there, because we're going to be making a new piece to go up under there and under here. There's a crack that started right here, so we're going to go ahead and replace this whole piece in here so that we've got a better connection. And you'll notice where these rivets go, I'll show you on the bottom where they're at on the inside. The rivets over here are actually inside of the wheel well here. So these rivets here are, I'm gonna have to get to from the inside of here. So it's gonna be a bit of a job, but that's where we're fixing to start working. The one good thing is these rivets over here on the inside are actually part of they're the actual rivets, so they're not those Cherry Maxes, so they'll be a little bit easier to get out. But you can see this piece of bulkhead here is actually cracked now that we've got it all cleaned up. Trying not to fall off the wing here, but this whole piece right here has broken off of the whole rib, so we've got to go in here and get all that out and repair that as well. So it's going to be a bit of a job. So this is looking at the bottom. This is a patch. This patch is actually not that bad, so I may just leave this one in, but the patch back here on the back of this door, this whole thing's going to have to come off because the rivets are loose. They put them in with Cherry Maxes and they're just not tight. This is the first row of rivets that we were seeing inside. They're the ones that were over on this side. The ones that were over on that side, as you can see, are on the other side of that wall. So we've got to get to them from up underneath and take them out and repair the inside of that. So right now what I'm about to do is these Cherry Max rivets that are in here there's not really any way, you can't drill them out. You have to actually sand off the head on the things and then drill them out that way. So I'm going to be doing that now and getting ready to put the patches on. So before we can do the patches, I've got to we've gotten all the patches out of the way. You can see the bottom of the wing is actually cracked pretty good. This piece goes all the way down. So that's that side, and then over here we have a crack here and we have another crack. This one's a little harder to see because it's up inside of here. Actually it's right here, but you can see another crack here. So what we're thinking about is cutting this out all the way around this and putting a plate across the whole thing, and then a little scab plate on the outside so it matches up. And then I've got Larry coming up here to look at this and see, but I'm thinking that we're probably going to do the same thing and actually cut this out and put a whole new piece in instead of trying to put a patch over this. But we'll see what Larry says when he gets up here. So at the moment, what we have had to do is we had to cut this entire piece out back here where the patch was that we took off from here. This is back underneath the gas tank. And then we're having to cut this piece out to put a patch in it. And the piece that we actually started the whole project for, which is this, we haven't even gotten to yet, but we're going to be cutting it out here and then putting a plate behind it here, and then another little scab piece here to make this flush. So right now the problem is that all of these pieces over here go up under this angle here and come into the wheel well. And let's see if I can get in here without cutting my head off. And they're in here, so I'm trying to figure out how to get these rivets out of here so that I can slide that scab piece up under here and then re-rivet all this. So this is my new challenge, because this is actually an angle, and then this piece slopes down here, so I can't get a drill in here to drill out these rivet heads. So I'm trying to see if I can shave off the rivet head and drill it out from the inside backwards. But that's kind of that. You can see right here where that crack has come all the way through and cracked into the rib here. So we have a bit of repair to do there, and then that other piece is up in here that we got to get out. This is yet another piece. This is actually the piece that I was taking out that actually started this. So this top rip right here is the one that we saw that was so loose up under there. The back one back here is one that we didn't really even see until we got in here and started working on it. So it's actually cut in two different places. Most of this from here all the way to here was up under the wheel well, so you couldn't even see this. It was only sticking out about that much of it, so you had no idea that it was cracked all the way to the edge of the metal. All we could see was about that much of it on the right of my thumb. So it ended up being busted up pretty good, and this is the same thing. You know, we could only see from that little bitty edge right there, so we had no idea that it was broke out like that. So right now, this is where we're at. We have this piece is the one that I was just looking at that I've cut out, and then I've still got to. I've cut the one out up here. You can see it droop down, but I've got to finish cutting it all the way over to the edge. I got to drill out those rivets all the way down that piece there, probably from right here all the way down. I'm gonna have to put new rivets in there. So, and then I've got to take this piece off because there's rivets under it. So that is the job for tomorrow. For today, I think I'm gonna wrap up. Jacob is getting tired, so I'm gonna go ahead and take him home, and then I'll come and finish this up tomorrow, or at least finish cutting up this. And this is the round piece that comes around the back of the engine, the wheel well. So that's what you're actually looking at here. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to cut a piece that's actually bigger all the way around, that'll cover this whole piece, and we're going to make it 32 thousandths thick, so it'll be a little bit thicker than what is actually in here right now. We'll rivet it in all the way around, and then what will end up happening is there will be still, you'll be able to see the hole from underneath, and so we'll cut another piece to fill in the hole so that when you're looking at it from the bottom, everything matches up. And what I'll probably do is I'll actually cut the whole piece first, because I'll just slide a piece of 25 in here, and then I'll draw out the edges, cut that piece out so it fits perfectly, and then we'll put the solid piece in and then put that other piece on the bottom. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. And then I'm also, I don't know, you know, these pieces are actually bolted down to this solid piece here. So I'm guessing that because the metal had broken loose, and also you can see here that this angle here has actually broken off, like it's completely broken off from there to there. So I'm going to be putting a new piece of angle here to beef this up again. We'll probably do it probably from back here all the way up, because there's a number of places here that have been broken out, because it's actually broken out all up from here, and this is broken too. So we'll get a new piece of angle, bolt these things back down to it all the way down, and then hopefully we'll have this thing back in here and tight so that it doesn't have any other issues. I've also noticed that over here on the right, because I've been wondering why this thing was flopping around, but now that I'm actually looking at this, if you look right here, there's actually 2 rivets sticking through here, and I'm thinking what has happened is the piece that is actually supposed to be, I think there's supposed to be a piece of angle here that supports this end, and it's gone. So that's why this is flapping around, and because this is flapping up and down, it's caused the whole piece here to get weak, and it put all the pressure down here on this end, which caused this to break off. So what I'm probably also going to do while I'm doing this is I'm gonna fix a new piece to get this thing solid again with the fuselage, so that it's not loose down here, because that's exactly what has happened. This thing is broken loose here, and it's kind of been a chain reaction all the way down to cause all this trouble, because it's kind of a mess. The other thing that I'm going to have to do, if you notice, the metal, the doors here, that piece, I think it's this piece right here, has broken loose here. So I'm going to have to make a new piece to go on there. So what I'm probably going to do is take all of these rivets off all the way around and just make a new piece to slide in there for those doors, because that's got to get fixed as well. So this easy job of removing a gas tank and fixing one crack has turned into quite a job. All right, this is the front piece that we didn't even know that was messed up. I finally got it all cut out. This is the piece back here that we're actually, well, this front piece was what we thought we were going to be replacing. We ended up having to go all the way back. Then we've got this piece all out. Tomorrow I'm going to come in and take all these rivets out and get this plate out of here so we can make a new plate, because it's broke back here, and we got to look at this stringer going across here and see if we can redo it. And then we've also got to figure out how to remount this over here on the fuselage. So we're getting close to being able to start heading in the other direction. The one problem that I had with that hole over there were these cross members, and getting that piece of metal cut out underneath it ended up being quite the exercise. You'll also notice the wheel well that comes down through here on the outside has got a notch taken out of it, and we're gonna have to stop drill that crack and try to see what we can do to fix that. Then we've got this mess right here that we're gonna have to figure out, and then these stringers that run across here, it looks like that thing had already broken off and they put a repair on it right there. So I'm kind of thinking, I don't know if we might, and you'll see that scab plate, those 2 sets of rivets that run down through there that are right there, those 2 sets, they're actually holding a plate on the bottom that looks like its entire purpose was to beef up this stringer, because it had broken off on the end and they put a bolt on one end, put those bolts in there, and it really isn't very sturdy. So I'm almost thinking that maybe we need to pull that stringer off and put a whole new stringer back in there. But I'll let Larry look at that tomorrow and see what we're going to end up having to do there, because it is quite the mess. And I've also got the door that's back on the back sump for the aux tank that is falling apart. So I think I'm gonna pull that off tomorrow too, and see if we can make up a new door for it while we're doing this. Just get all this crap fixed once and for all.
Oh no, pretty good. Oh,
So yeah, this.
Where are you? Oh, you're right there. If I have a Dremel tool.
This is the top of it. We've fixed a new piece here for holding this stringer in on the fuselage. We put a new stringer in here. We've still got to make the bracket to hold this end of the stringer, and then over here we've got to build up the rib again there and there, so we can attach the stringers to this side, because they're still hanging free over there. And then we should be starting to make the panels and stuff for both sides, so we can, or for this side, so we can get ready to start riveting all this stuff together. Yep.
I didn't come out in a bad spot.
No, you hit my hammer.
Oh, okay. Oh, dang, I did right between them two holes.
While we were working on this, I went ahead and replaced all these rivets across here. They're the ones that were holding the door in, and they had already pulled through the top of the metal, so I put the next size bigger rivets in it so that the heads were a little bigger. You can see the difference between the ones that were there and the ones that are in now. So that's fixed now. So the door on both sides has been fixed. So tomorrow we are going to be riveting everything in place. We've got all the pieces made. The stringers are back in here. So we're literally down to riveting everything back together and putting the gas tank back in. So exciting stuff.
Okay.
Getting it back together. So we've gotten all the panels on back here. This is on the left side where the fuel drain and all that stuff are. I've still got to fix the hinge on that door back there and put that back in. And then tomorrow I am going to be finishing up this side over here, and then we'll be ready to put the gas tank back in. So we're getting pretty close. So, and then I gotta tape it off and spray it. So, but it's definitely fixed a lot better than it used to be.
I think the ones going through the ferry are new. I don't think there's any. Is there a ship in there?
So this is Charlie helping me paint the bottom of the airplane, and he was sitting on this and he fell off. So
Story of my life.
all right, we got all of the new pieces primed in here. and we're ready to put the covers back on our straps, and we got to put some pieces back in the side over here that brace, and put the felt back on them, and then get the gas tank back in. All right, so we ended up making 2 new doors. These doors, well, actually, and then that third door back here in the back for the aux drain, we redid it. We made a patch here, a patch there. We stripped this piece and repainted it and put it back on. We ended up having to take it all the way off. We've got it all primered now, so tomorrow morning I will get in here and put the final coat of paint on it, and then we should be done with the painting, and I can start working on actually getting the tank back in.
Still dark there at the primer.
Yeah. So that's the first coat of color. So hopefully the second coat will do it.